Now, the US is considering applying hefty import tariffs on steel and aluminium. Of course, stocks and countries have reacted to this a lot. Top EU finance ministers discussed the possible tax at a meeting in Brussels. The US is the world's largest steel importing country. A new import tax would hit China, Brazil, South Korea and Russia the hardest. The US wants to bolster its domestic steel industry. China has warned that they will retaliate. And the European Union says they will respond appropriately if the tariffs are implemented. Now, for more in-depth analysis on the issue of steel trade wars, I'm joined by TRT World's editor-at-large, Craig Copetas. Thanks for joining us, Craig. Now, tell me, why should I care, my audience, why should we care about the price of steel and aluminium, Craig?
Well, anyone who's watching right now, if they have a drink in their hand, a Coca-Cola, Lipton iced tea, whatever, take a look at that aluminum can. That's going to get more expensive. They want to put a 23.6% tariff on aluminum, 53% tariff on steel. Now, it's always the consumer who ends up paying the higher cost. So at some point along this tariff chain, it's the consumer who's going to end up paying more for the packaging for their soft drink or their steel girder or whatever it might be from any of these two metals.
Okay, so tell us, why exactly is the US doing this and why now?
Well, it's Mr. President Trump once again playing to his base, Maria. What they've triggered here is an obscure section known as 232 from a 1962 trade law in the U.S. It was made during the Cold War. And this regulation said that the U.S. can take retaliatory action on a nation if they believe that what they're importing to the exporting to the U.S. is a security problem. It's a security threat. So the Trump administration has said, well, aluminum and steel importers, you know, you're a security threat, principally eyeing China and Russia. However, maybe someone didn't tell President Trump that Canada, South Korea, and all sorts of other nations are steel importers, and you can't, under World Trade Organization agreements, if you slap a tariff on one country, you have to slap a tariff on all. So this is going to cause a big stink at the WTO.
Mm-hmm. At the WTO and many other countries we've heard are not happy about this. So what kind of retaliation could we see, and could it also affect the entire trading system?
Oh, retaliation. Well, you know, I can tell you that just about an hour ago I was speaking to some folks in Brussels, the capital of the European Union. The finance ministers had gathered there, and one of the guys in the meeting was telling me that the finance ministers of Europe are now looking to take Donald Trump's tax plan, his great tax cut plan, to the World Trade Organization because they believe it violates WTO rules. That's called payback. Now, they're still bickering on how they might do this, but they know that this is based on the fact that they know that American tech companies, for instance, have $2.6 trillion in combined assets warehoused overseas. And as we've known from past reports, the EU would like to wet their beaks on this money before it goes back to the U.S.
Okay. What
does this all mean? The World Trade Organization is going to become the arena where all of these trade battles are going to be fought out.
Let's talk more about the retaliation. And China and Russia are some of the countries that are going to be hit the hardest. How exactly do you think they're going to retaliate, especially China?
Well, China will go to the WTO first. They'll probably slap tariffs on some U.S. goods. Russia has a tougher time of it. You know, 35% of all of Russia's ferroalloy exports, that's steel, they go to the United States. 27% of all the aluminum that's made in Russia, that goes to the United States. And what Trump here is doing, again, is he is weaponizing the U.S. dollar and trade to get his way on foreign policy initiatives overseas, using these things to punish foreign countries he doesn't like or who has a problem with. And these countries are no longer going to sit around and take it. What's curious about this, Maria, is that, you know, everything is linked in the global economy, as we know by now, globalization. So these tariffs that he's hoping to slap on steel and aluminum have now triggered the finance ministers in the EU to start thinking about, well, we'll take Trump's tax plan, domestic tax plan, to the World Trade Organization as well as a violation of those agreements. So it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to stretch out for quite some time.
All right, Craig, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your analysis. That was TRT World's editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, for us there.